two cadences. In the context of the Haggadah, it is one of gratitude. If you, God, had only done some of what you did, that would have been enough, Dayeinu. But you went above and beyond. You didn't just give us Shabbat, you gave us the Torah. You didn't just give us the Torah, you brought us to the land of Israel. Each step of the way we say Dayeinu. We learn incremental gratitude, not just for the end result, but for each moment along the way. We learn to pause and say thank you for each stage of the journey. The other sense of Dayeinu, however, is used conversationally. It has the opposite feeling. It means enough already. Dayeinu, I've heard enough. I've had enough. Enough is enough. It's all in the tone. When it comes to the war in Gaza, in the past several weeks, we have heard from some remarkable people saying Dayeinu in the second sense. Enough is enough. And the first time that I can remember, Gazans took to the streets in large numbers to protest Hamas. Bara, 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 Hamas tatlara bara, out, 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 Hamas must get out. And another, Jazeera bara, bara, Al Jazeera gets out. Hamas responded by executing the protesters publicly, and after a few days, the protests stopped. Nevertheless, it is hopefully a crack in the wall. The Israeli military is not a political solution. It can only neutralize Hamas's physical threats. Only the removal of Hamas by the Palestinians themselves will create a political alternative and bring a chance for peace. Second, actual Palestinian activists called out the so-called pro-Palestinian movement in the United States and Europe. And they started getting their voices heard. Ahmed Fouad al-Khatib, a Palestinian American, has gained prominence on social media. He's lost 33 relatives in Israel's bombardment of Gaza. Yet his conclusion is that Palestinians must pragmatically make peace with Israel. He claims that thousands of Gazans loathe Hamas. He finds it ironic and despicable that white American protesters accuse him of being a traitor for condemning Hamas, when he's the actual Palestinian who has suffered unimaginable loss. If al-Khatib was in charge, we would have had a two-state solution 25 years ago. In addition, Gazan Mumin al-Natur has an op-ed published in the Washington Post entitled, "Why I and Thousands of My Fellow Gazans Say Hamas's Tyranny Must End." He's been tortured by Hamas before. I'm afraid of what will happen now. Finally, Israelis continue to protest Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu in the tens of thousands in the streets. The Israeli Defense Forces all but said that they had achieved all that they could reasonably be achieved with military power back in January. In an extraordinary move this week, over 1,000 Israeli Air Force reservists signed a letter calling for the end of the war. Also this week, Netanyahu may have won a photo op with the president, but he came away with little else. The president announced direct talks with Iran, cutting Israel out of the loop. The president did not make an exception for Israel on tariffs, lumping it in with everyone else. Of course, that news changes every day. And the president praised Prime Minister Erdogan of Turkey, calling him very smart, and praised him for taking over Syria. Remember that Erdogan is an anti-Semitic dictator, not exactly a diplomatic success for Israel. My sense is that Israelis generally do not believe Netanyahu about anything, including that he can bomb the Palestinians into releasing the 24 remaining living hostages. There doesn't seem to be a real plan. And the longer this goes on, the more catastrophes and cover-ups like the recent bombing of the ambulance convoy are going to take place. Israeli soldiers should not be put in impossible situations, and Palestinians need hope. At the same time, we Jewish Americans, for our part, need to keep pushing back on the claim that Israel is committing genocide. You would never know it from NPR, but the IDF's intent is not mass murder. It is to eliminate Hamas and rescue the hostages. In addition, according to Reuters, recent assessments put the number of Palestinian militant dead at 20,000 out of about 50,000. It says one civilian was killed for every fighter, a ratio it blames on Hamas for using civilian facilities. In other words, taking into account the history of urban warfare, the IDF has actually accomplished a remarkable achievement of restraint so far. In conclusion, let us remember that Passover means standing up to Pharaoh and means to animate the Moses within you. Use your moral courage and say Dayeinu, both for gratitude and for protest. It means being able to say many things are true at once, that we stand with Israel, that even more specifically, we stand with the people of Israel in their quest for peace. Hamas must go. The hostages must be released. And we need different leadership. We all deserve better. So please vote in the World Zionist Congress, donate to the Hostages and Missing Families Forum, and most importantly, don't give up hope. Just as we say Dayeinu for each step of the journey, so must we persevere in pushing forward, step by step, sometimes backward and sometimes forward, knowing that it is a difficult and winding road. There is no alternative. Shabbat Shalom.